What's up, guys? It's King Andrew here with a Nexus Gaming Series cast. Tonight, we've got all random, all middle-aged against Red Dragons. We're doing Div C East. We just finished up the map bans. We'll even take a look at that. So here's how things kind of went down. All random, all middle-aged banned out Alterac Pass and Braxis Holdout. Red Dragons banned Dragonshire and Infernal Shrines. And that left all random, all middle-aged with the map pick, and they're gonna go to Cursed Hollow for the first game of this series. Now, who are these teams? Let's take a look at that too. So here are our teams in Div C East. All random, all middle-aged. Our captain's gonna be Modus Trollin, Souza, Killer Fairy, Muffin Man, and Poppin' Fresh. And don't forget Barber. I almost forgot him, but he's there too. 6-man roster, so one of those people will be sitting out tonight. But 5 of them will not. So lucky to those people who are playing. And our challenger, Red Dragons, Lifscutori is going to be our captain. Followed up by Pandemonium, Dizzy, Jacobia, and Daddy Whale. Gotta love Daddy Whale. Any name with Daddy in it, gonna get me very excited. We're sitting here in our lobby, and we're going to be going pretty shortly. So, welcome in tonight. If you haven't met me, I'm King Andrew. I'm an NGS caster, Heroes of the Storm enthusiast, ARAM warrior, voice actor, former school teacher. I wear many different hats. Tonight we've got hopefully a great game ahead of us. Not only do we have hopefully a great game ahead of us, but hopefully 2 great series ahead of us, because after I finish this game, not even this game, but this series between all random, all middle-aged, and Red Dragons, I've got another one. I'm doing a doubleheader tonight. Later on, I'll be casting a match from, I believe, Div C West. Do I remember the team names off the top of my head? No, I don't. We'll see when we get there. Dunning-Kruger Knights is one of them, and Team Rainbow Strike Go. So that'll be at 8:30 Pacific time. If you're not in Pacific time, convert it to your local time zone. Use Google. All the resources are there. No excuses. And, yeah, that's what we got going on tonight. I do remember Cold Cut Sandwiches. That was a... that was a name that I was very fond of that name. In fact, I believe I thought of that name. I believe I was the originator of that name, trying to think of different CCS names to, you know, go along with whatever it is, the meme, the whatever. Although I think my favorite name that I created out of a CCS name that never actually got to be used for a team was Can't Climb Silver, but for some people that might hit a little too close to home. Never actually did it. And oh, the reason why Cold Cut Sandwiches is brought up. Hopefully this game's not going to start too soon. We go back to our team overview. I actually used to play with 2 of these players, Lifscutoria and Pandemonium, on Red Dragons, on a Nexomania team that we called Cold Cut Sandwiches. That's why, yeah, I remember the team, and I'm only just now remembering that, yes, I played with these 2 players on that team. So, I do know these players a little bit. All random, all middle-aged, I don't know them as well. I have played against them, also in Nexomania, and I had the luxury of losing to them, quite hard in fact. So based on that, there's a part of me that does feel a little biased towards all random, all middle-aged, because I very vaguely and faintly remember the sting of losing to them. But I do not have that same experience with Red Dragons, but I could be totally wrong. I really don't know which one of these teams are favored, so that's something we're going to find out once the game actually starts. And at this point, we really are just waiting for the draft to start. Teams have called ready, so hopefully any minute now we're just going to be going into that draft. Good to see you all tonight. Maybe they're waiting for me to say that I'm R? Yes, and in fact they were. As usual, I'm the one lagging behind. But we are starting any second now. Hope you're all having a good time. Here we go. Alright, so first game of the series. Gonna be going into Cursed Hollow, except, is my screen working? Let's head on over to... Yeah, so already we're kind of having some problems. Let's see if we can fix that up real fast. because that's going to be a real game changer. All right, let's see if we can fix this. How's that going? Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, very nice. Because that was going to be a real problem if I didn't get that one fixed real soon. But hey, talking about problems, you know, ain't going to be a problem in this game. It's Blaze, because Blaze is going to be banned out by Red Dragons in this first round of the draft. Blaze kind of part of the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of who are the top offlaners in the game at the moment between Blaze, Dahaka, and Hogger. Johanna's kind of commonly banned out as seen as, I don't know, I think in some divisions, especially lower divisions, often banned out first. Kind of seen as the best tank. I think at higher levels that might not be seen as much. Greymane also going to be banned out. Greymane is a little bit more of a curious one. Greymane's not someone who I see as much of a high priority, but what it does give you on this map is good merking abilities for either the Bruiser or the Siege, and also great for taking the boss as well. Also good if you just want to push, which works well with the objective, since this is an objective where the objective is not some kind of unit that actually does damage. So having heroes that actually do more damage helps you a bit more with the objective. And Stukov is going to be banned out on the side of all random, all middle-aged. Stukov is my favorite healer in the game. I personally believe that he is the 5th best healer in the game, even though he's my personal favorite. Certainly Lurking Arm, completely busted ability, super annoying, fun and interactive, but that lack of a cleanse tends to be a little bit more of a weakness the higher you go up in level of play. Meanwhile, Diablo going to be picked up early by Lifscutoria, who is actually the tank who I personally believe is probably actually the best tank in the game. A little bit more unforgiving than Johanna, but I think the peaks of a Diablo are higher than that of a Johanna. Picking it this early does also leave some opportunity to counter pick it by making sure there's heavy damage. So the Tychus pick is going to come out on the side of all random, all middle-aged. That Tychus pick certainly provides really good percent damage against Diablo, a lot of kill pressure. I've heard good players say that they actually don't believe that Tychus is really a counter to Diablo, so I think there must be something to that, but at the very least, he certainly does provide a lot of damage and kill pressure against the Diablo, whether or not he is necessarily a counter. Meanwhile, the draft is running away from me as I drone on and on about Tychus. Dahaka picked up by Poppin' Fresh on the side of all random, all middle-age. Red Dragon's going to pick up Brightwing and Raynor. So some parts of this draft looking pretty try-hard, getting the Brightwing that early, prioritizing the good healers. Dahaka, again, as I said, who I believed was one of the top 3 offlaners in the game at the moment. Also helpful to have that global on such a big map like Cursed Hollow. The Raynor is one that stands out a little bit more as, you know, like a comfort pick that you might see more in lower divisions or middle divisions. That Raynor being something that is, in my opinion, he is one of the weaker ranged assassins in the game. I believe there are a lot of fundamental issues in his kit. There are some strengths that can definitely be taken advantage of on this map. I think Exterminator is very powerful on this map. I really want to see Exterminator and not any of the other level 1 talents, but I'm not the one playing Raynor, so that may not happen. Chromie going to be banned out in the secondary ban phase by all random, all middle-aged, and Rhaegar is going to be banned out by Red Dragons. I like that ban on the Rhaegar, kind of just looking at what healers are still up, so if all random, all middle-aged is really try-harding, really going for the meta, that basically puts them into either Lucio or Anduin. But, you know, we are in Div C, so there's no guarantee that we're going to see that, and maybe they have some bigger plans. Maybe they're going to go for a Stitches and then get a Malfurion, but probably not, as exciting as that would be. Then there's the Anduin. Muradin Anduin is actually a fantastic pickup there. Obviously, the Johanna and the Diablo are not available, so... And again, if you're thinking more meta, what are the best tanks that are still up? I think it's some combination of Muradin, Anubarak, and I'm trying to think if there's anyone else who is kind of in that range who's about as good. But you get Light Bomb, Jesus Christ, Light Bomb, Dwarf Toss, which is a fantastic combination. There is some opportunity to counter that with Brightwing, and Brightwing if the timing on her cleanse is good. Meanwhile, Daddy Whale and Jacoby are going to round out this draft by getting the Gul'dan and the Yrel. Yrel is someone who I believe is the 4th best offlaner in the game. I talked about my holy trinity of Dahaka, Hogger, and Blaze. After that, I personally think Yrel is the 4th best. A little bit more of a specialty pick. Not a lot of people play Yrel. She is difficult, awkward to learn. And who's going to be this last pickup by Killer Fairy? we're going to get the Kael'thas. All right. So between these two drafts, I'm not sure which one I like better yet. It'll probably come up more in as the game progresses in itself. The damage profile is a lot more consistent on the side of Red Dragons between having the Raynor and having the Gul'dan. Gul'dan being someone who has pretty good range. Good range, just constant throughput with the Fell Flame. Raynor also a stutter-stepping auto-attacker who can attack at 6.5 range. And all of that's a bit of a contrast to the draft from All Random, All Middle-Aged, which is closer range overall, much more burst-oriented, and it's a lot more difficult for All Random, All Middle-Aged to do consistent sustained damage. Those are basically synonyms. There's no real reason to say consistent sustained damage. That's just me tripping over my words. Is game about to start anytime soon? So, I think what kind of gives it to me, what for me is going to put things a little bit over the edge, is the Dwarf Toss Light Bomb combo out of All Random, All Middle-Aged. If they are consistently doing that, I think that's honestly going to win team fights. And I think this team is a team that's been around long enough that the follow-up damage from Tychus and Kael'thas is going to be there. If All Random, All Middle-Aged is not too strong on that, or if they're too passive, then I think the draft from Red Dragons will just slowly win the sustained fights. Jesus, who's taking so long to load in? Is it me? Here we go. We're almost there. There we go. We are here. It's been a while. Back in the saddle. It's been a while since I've cast an NGS game. Could have been like a year or something. But anyway, not talking about. It's not about me. It's about these two teams. Div C East. All Random, All Middle-Aged. Modus Trolling going to be on the Murden. That's Souza on the Tychus. Muffin Man on the Anduin. Poppin' Fresh on the Dahaka. And Killer Fairy on the Kael'thas. Their opponents, Red Dragons, Lifscutoria, going to be on that Nexomania, Diablo, Pandemonium's going to be on the Raynor, Daddy Whale on the Urel, Jacobia on the Gul'Daniel, and that's going to be Dizzy playing on the Brightwing. Both teams looking to start out mid, taking a look at the talents to see if there's anything that's out of the usual. Is that even a phrase? Something about it doesn't say right. Seem right, or anything that seems interesting. I am very, very happy to see this Exterminator out of Pandemonium. Hope they get a lot of good value out of that. One of the great things about this talent that sometimes people forget about, I didn't know about for a long time, is this passive. Inspire does not expire on friendly minions and mercenaries, and I think that's a highly underrated feature of that talent. Urel already going to be going to the lanes. Dahaka here in bottom strikes me as a little bit odd. We can already see that the tribute is going to be spawning here from the minimap. Typically, I think the way a global wants to play on this map is that you want your global hero to be playing opposite of where the objective is so that they can stay in the opposing lane for as long as possible, continue to collect soak, and then they can just global in when they are needed. Meanwhile, we're going to see heroes going over to camps. Tychus getting the camp is sometimes a little bit tricky because of the fact that he can't move around while he autos, but he's going to use his cooldowns, and Muffin Man is going to help him out. I guess ideally here, Muffin Man should really be drawing the aggro so that Souza can do the damage without having to drop DPS from moving around, and even Killer Fairy is going to come around here. So, Pandemonium and Dizzy going to take care of that on the other side. 3 heroes actually committed to taking that camp. Meanwhile, Dahaka is going to be facing 2 different heroes, pulls Lifscutoria into the towers. Doesn't achieve much since there's no real follow-up damage. Although Lifscutoria at about half of his health. Gonna move up. Oh! Poppin' Fresh playing a little bit of a dangerous game, trying to make things happen, but a very nice penetrating round from Pandemonium. We're gonna see a little bit of a skirmish here as Modus Trolling moves in. Dizzy is gonna go down. Poppin' Fresh just needs to move back, make sure he doesn't go down too, and so does Muffin Man. Oh, it's gonna be a 1-for-1 with Muffin Man going down. It's not gonna be a 1-for-1, it's gonna be a 2-for-1. And that is a little bit surprising considering that was, I don't know. To me, it felt like the advantage was in favor of All Random, All Middle-Aged. I believe they got the first kill, and now that they didn't, and now that they lost their healer, Pandemonium pushing forward a little bit more. Health bar is getting kind of low on both sides, except for the Muradin, who can, of course, regenerate his own health. And here comes that tribute. So, and again, here's where I feel like Poppin' Fresh could be in this other lane, matching Daddy Whale. We do see an experience lead for Red Dragons, and I feel like having Poppin' Fresh in that opposite lane could help, because now Daddy Whale has to rotate down. Poppin' Fresh wouldn't have to do that if he were up in top, because he is playing Dahaka. Meanwhile, taking a look at talents again, nothing that seems too out of the ordinary for me. We're going to have a Q build Gul'dan, which is something I'm personally a fan of, but let's take a look at this fight. You know, who's not going to be a fan of something? Modus Trollin not going to be a fan of getting knocked into the wall by Diablo. Both of those tanks at low health, Poppin' Fresh as well. So low health heroes kind of cycling out. The health bar is kind of favoring Red Dragons, and we're going to having some heroes pretty close to death. I don't know if Susan makes it out in time, and he does not. Killer Fairy is not going to make it out either. And it's actually going to be a 2-for-1. I didn't even see where Raynor went down there, but he did. Doesn't matter, though. Red Dragon's still going to pick up this objective. Meanwhile, Souza is now in the opposite lane. Probably global top once he saw that the fight was lost. But him not being here also means that this is a pretty easy push for Red Dragons. They're going to be pretty aggressive here. They've got the health bars to do it. Little baby pull coming out of Muffin Man to save Modus Trollin. This structure is nearly down. Whether it goes down or not, this is just some great value from Red Dragons. And they're going to turn this into a fight. It's a 4v4. Dahaka's not here. The Soul Shield coming in big for Lifscutoria on Diablo. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, Pandemonium taking advantage of that Exterminator like I wanted him to. Just so much damage to Mercenaries. And we see, even with how much health he lost, that's not something that he could do without this talent. Meanwhile, we're going to see 4 members of All Random All Mage. Let's try that again. All Random All Middle-Aged committed to taking out this Bruiser Camp. Quite a lot of people. There is a lot of damage to take out the Bruiser Camp. I don't know if all of them are needed here. And we are going to see the Bruiser Camp for Red Dragons crashing on the wall of All Random All Middle-Ages 4. So, overall, the momentum a little bit in favor of Red Dragons. We see Pandemonium once again picking up the camps, so a little bit ahead in those camp pickups, in part because of this Exterminator Raynor. Lifscutoria and Daddy Whale going to be set up here. They're quiet. They're hunting. Oh, they can't just stand there any longer, otherwise they're going to lose a lot mid lane. So they go here, but it's only 2 of them, Jacobia and Pandemonium, coming up to help them, while our globals are duking it out up top. Raw Flame Strike thrown out by Killer Fairy. Not going to achieve too much. Meanwhile, the Siege Camp is going to be picked up by All Random All Middle Age. So, pretty even game so far. We do have this Siege Camp pushing while actual fighting is happening middle lane. Eventually, they are going to have to deal with this Siege Camp, but I suppose for now, they're just going to have to deal with Red Dragons just straight up pushing. That's another one of the advantages of the Raynor and the Gul'dan compared to the Tychus and the Kael'thas. Much better siege and pushing potential from the Gul'dan and the Raynor, and they're just straight up going to start the boss. They might even finish, actually they very much will finish this before this tribute even comes up. Now, oh no, All Random All Middle Mate, oh my god, this name's going to kill me. All Random All Middle Aged hasn't sussed it out. They're just standing here while this is happening. And this is just going to be taken. They even give up their 10 advantage for it. In fact, it's the boss being taken that gives gives Red Dragons the 10. Lifscutoria going in. Killer Fairy is going to get pulled back, and most of Lifscutoria's health is gone. Here comes Dahaka coming in on the back line. He's going to pick up Jacobia, but a nice silence from Brightwing. Nice polymorph even. Daddy Whale hit in here. Oh my god, we have the Sacred Ground. Not something I see very often, but he's practically invincible back here, even though he's very isolated. Oh my god, I might have spoken so too soon. Oh, he gets a nice heal. Just barely keeping him up. I thought he was gone for sure. Oh no, Pandemonium's pretty far up there. Does he make it out? That Living Bomb is going to take him out, and Pandemonium is the first one to go down, but meanwhile, while all this is happening, the boss is pushing, still has a little less than half of its health left. So even with the losses in heroes, Some nice value from Red Dragons based on this boss taken. I mean, I don't know how much of the top wall was already taken, but I mean, we've got almost half of the fort, about 40% of the fort. That's really good value for giving up, what, a tribute at a time when it didn't really matter that much, so... Red Dragons kind of running circles around all random, all middle-aged at the moment. That name is hard. Kills actually slightly in favor of all random, all middle-aged, though. 3 of those kills gotten just in that one last team fight alone. What is Red Dragons doing at this point? What is there to do? We're seeing both teams. Okay, both teams are kind of wondering if the other team is already on the boss. And all right, here's where things gonna happen. Neither global is here. We're gonna see the Brightwing Z on the full health Rainer. A little bit not optimal, but Lifscutoria. I think Lifscutoria goes down here. Even with the Soul Shield, he's just being burned down by the Tychus minigun. That is the first death. Daddy Whale's going to use that Righteous Hammer to try to disengage, but unfortunately, Yrel herself is not going to get out of there. So this is good opportunity for all random, all middle age. We're going to see the boss picked up. Doesn't come with a curse just yet, but they should be able to get both the boss and a curse, so it's a pretty good win for them overall. They surely would have been giving up curse if that had not happened. And Red Dragons just trying to salvage the situation as best as they can, taking the safe camps on both sides. And here's also something where, again, I feel there could be a little bit of a better allocation of who's taking what. Raynor and Gul'dan don't really need to be together to take a camp. Raynor does enough damage to a camp by himself, so I think it's Gul'dan who should be with something like the Diablo or the Brightwing taking the easy camp. Anyway, boss is now going to be pushing. Oh no! Poppin' Fresh gets pulled over, and he's very, very far away. I think at this point, he's just content to die. The team knows that he's gone. Just really not respecting the Diablo being able to pull him over a wall, and that's just something. If you're playing against a Diablo and a wall is still up, you just can't walk up to... the wall unless you see Diablo elsewhere, or unless you have a way for sure that you can get back over the wall. Either with an Anduin pull or a hero like Muradin who can just jump back over himself. So Dahaka will be up in time, but the positioning right now is favoring Red Dragons, who are actually invading the Bruiser camp, or all random, all middle age. They're going to just take that, and they just finish camp so quickly with this Raynor. And you know what, the Gul'dan is actually really great on camps too, just with his spells hitting all 4 members of that Bruiser camp together. Oh my god, Pandemonium stepping in forward. It's going to be a stun on both Pandemonium and Lifscutoria. Brightwing Cleanse comes out. Lifscutoria is going to be dragged by Dahaka, but it's Muffin Man who's low, so Lifscutoria and Daddy Whale are going in. Can he finish it off with the Lightning Breath? The Lightning Breath not enough to take out the Anduin, and instead it is Raynor who goes down first. Lifscutoria going to go out next. And this is... oh no! But meanwhile, I was about to say, that's a big swing for all random, all middle-aged, winning that team fight. But while all that's happening, Dizzy manages to pick up the curse. And this curse, you know, on the one hand, normally I would think, you might think that picking up a curse when your team is dead wouldn't get so much value, but the lanes were already pushed in such a way that the curse is actually getting pretty good value despite the fact that Red Dragons can't push with it. Took out the top fort, got some decent progress here, even took a little bit, no, only a little bit of this keep front wall. But just good damage control out of Dizzy there, managing to secure that objective. Meanwhile, still taking a look a little bit around, haven't thought too much about talents. Nothing too much really seems that interesting to me other than the Sacred Ground that I saw earlier, which he got some decent value out of it. He just kind of lived inside the other team with that Sacred Ground. Oh no, meanwhile, Pandemonium trying to live inside the other team, but can he do it? He's still behind Modus Trollin. Another big cleanse coming out of Dizzy, getting also some value out of that critical mist. A big fat heal onto Pandemonium. But talking about fat heals, it's Lifscutoria who needs one. He's got the benefit of that soul shield, but it's not enough to get him out of here. Meanwhile, Daddy Whale also, the Sacred Ground not enough to keep him alive, and this game was looking good for Red Dragons early on in the game. They had certainly the better end of the macro. They were really just ahead in macro, and I think that was a combination of both just the decisions they were making, how they positioned their heroes, and also just which heroes they had. But in this mid to late game, all random, all middle-aged, just proving to be stronger in the team fights. Meanwhile, I talked about the combination of the Dwarf Toss Light Bomb in the draft. I don't recall if I've actually seen it. I've seen at least one Light Bomb that just went on to Anduin himself when he was scared and just used it defensively as a way to try to survive. Meanwhile, Boss is going to be picked up. They're going to push with it as 4. And they've got 16 talent tier advantage, so all random, all middle-aged, kind of in the driver's seat at this point. They've got a lead in experience, but not a lead in structures. In fact, they've got quite a bit more to catch up in structures. And they even got to clear this lane. I think that is kind of up to Poppin' Fresh to take care of that. Ideally, yeah, I feel like his team could have caught this wave middle while he was bottom. He might even have to global bottom, which very much not ideal to global bottom at this time. Probably better to just hearth back, but the hearthing being a little bit slower means it's more likely that there's also... Well, I don't know whose soak that is, actually. Meanwhile, we are going to see the Odin dropped here. Souza looking to put a little damage on the mid fort. And Red Dragons, although they've been a little bit behind in team fights, they still have the structure lead, and they now have even talent tiers. So they're going in, Lipsky Toria trying to make something happen, charges in, but doesn't get too much out of it, and we just see the disengage. So it also means that Souza will not have the Odin for the fight. He did use it to help to try to siege mid. I think there's even a world where maybe all random, all middle-aged doesn't even go for this. Nevertheless, they are going to be moving in. Poppin' Fresh still cleaning up, and they're on even talent. No, I think going in here is their best bet. Because they are on even talent tiers. Their next chance to fight might not be on even talent tiers. And all random, all middle-aged is actually the team in the lead. Anyway, Light Bomb's going to come out. Quick kill on the Diablo there. Oh, man. It's just we might see a five-man team wipe here, and it isn't even going to be indeed going to be a 5-man team wipe. Mixing things up. But you know who's not mixing things up? All random, all middle-aged. They are looking clean. I even wonder if they're going to look to finish here. Because they're gonna burn through that keep. By the time this keep is dead, we might have Diablo on like 10 seconds. So yep, pretty much that. So 10 seconds, they're just gonna go for it. Yeah, this could just be game one. And even by the time they're gonna have 20. Yeah, 20's there. Shields are already gone. Lipsky Toria trying to come up. Double root on Anduin is gonna slow Red Dragons from even being able to do anything. And that is for sure game one going in the favor of all random, all middle-aged. Was looking pretty good in the early game for Red Dragons, but just the late game, mid to late game team fighting actually going pretty massively in favor of all random, all middle-aged. They are going to win game one on Cursed Hollow. And there it is. We're done with game one. It's good to be back in the saddle. First time casting NGS in a while. Obviously a new season, so you know, not too many games have happened so far. And we're just going to update our score with all random, all middle-aged taking that game one. And barely took a look at the stats during the course of that game. The Rainer a little low on the side of damage compared to the other damage dealers, which is something that I feel is a little bit to be expected out of a Rainer. I think Rainer is a hero who struggles a little bit to do damage in team fights, and I think it is just one of the weaknesses of a hero and one of the things that makes him kind of a less than desirable pick. He's certainly got some great value on the macro, taking the camps early on, which I feel is what the hero does. Yeah, other than that, massive siege damage out of the Kael'thas and the Dahaka. That's the other really big discrepancy here. Even some pretty good siege damage from the Tychus. Alright guys, welcome back. It's me, it's King Andrew. If you don't know me, I'm King Andrew. That's who I am. I just said it. I'm an NGS caster, Heroes of the Storm player, ARAM enthusiast, ARAM warrior even, voice actor, former school teacher. I think that's enough titles, but, you know, I wear many hats. Talking about hats, wouldn't it be nice to see Abathur in the next game? What a good bit. Not really. But still just waiting on what the map's going to be for this next game. And if you were someone who was not here, if there, I don't even know how many of you are here. Yeah, a couple of you here, looking good, looking good. Oh yeah, I don't see the viewer count, but I can quickly check over to the users in chat. Let's take a quick look at Let's try to speak English first. Let's take a quick look at the map screen. So here's our map screen. All random, all middle-aged. They were the ones who picked the map. They were also the ones who won the map. So we're also taking a look at what maps are available. Braxis, not going to be a choice. Infernal Shrines, Dragonshire, and Alterac Pass, also not going to be choices. All those were banned out by these teams in the beginning. So we're left with Battlefields of Eternity, Garden of Terror, Sky Temple, Towers of Doom, Volskaya Foundry, and Tomb of the Spider Queen. Hello, Monty Guy. It's nice to meet you. Do you like Heroes of the Storm? Do you like bits? Do you like tunnels? Alright. That's enough of that. So, still waiting to find out where these teams will go next. And what is Red Dragons? What is Red Dragons gonna have to do to bring this back? Hard to tell until we see a map. Certainly in the late game, the team fights really just spiraled out of control for them. Most of those late game team fights, because it was actually, I believe it was Red Dragons who started early on with a kill advantage. I think early on it was 4-2 in kills. It was 4-2 in kills early on in the game. And then the ending score, that was 4-2 in favor of Red Dragons, kills that is. And then the ending score was, I believe, oh, we can actually see it here. We don't even have to believe. I can just take a look back. I can just take back a look at this. It was 16-5 in kills. 16-5 in kills. So, I'd have to look back and to see, what was working for all random, all middle-aged there. Because on paper, what I really saw that I really liked was just having the Dwarf Toss Light Bomb combo. In practice, I don't remember that actually happening that much. There was at least one time I remember that it wasn't used, and it was a time, to be fair, when Muffin Man was in a bit of a dangerous situation, panicked a little bit, and just kind of used it on himself with the hope of using it to save himself. But I don't remember how often that was used to actually just engage. All right, so it's good to see you guys here. We've got people here for Jacobia. We've got people here for me. That's good. Always feels good. Feed my ego. I love it. And what I'm sure we really have, though, is people here just for Heroes of the Storm. Because that's one of the things about streaming. Most of the time, especially if you're a small streamer, people aren't here for you. They're here for whatever. They're here for your content, whatever game you're playing. They're here for, in this case, NGS matches. But I appreciate those of you who are here for me. Alright. They're still taking their time. We'll take a little bit of a look back at our team overview for those of you who weren't here before, but these are our teams. Of course, you've seen their players in the game itself. But, Barber is also, I believe it's Barber who is, yeah, I can actually just, so Barber is the bench player for all random, all middle-aged. Certainly a question of whether or not he will come in. Probably not, he's probably just a sub. And guess what? We finally do have our map. And our next map of this series is going to be Volskaya Foundry. Who picked that? I don't know. I'm going to ask Sue. So here we can see that Volskaya Foundry has been picked. So Volskaya, an interesting map to see. I was personally hoping for Battlefield of Eternity or Towers of Doom, mostly for purely selfish reasons, just because I like that map. Or those maps even. The English language is very, very hard. And the picker of the map was Red Dragons. They were the ones who chose They're the ones who chose Volskaya Foundry. It's interesting to see Volskaya Foundry. It's a map that is unliked by many people. I don't feel too strongly about it. There are people who feel that from a competitive perspective, there are things wrong with it. One of the things that is questionable about it is the value of the objective. And another thing that is questionable about it is the question, the literal question of how many people do you actually bother to put in the objective? I remember when this map first came out, where I felt it was like very unironically better to just have one person in the objective, although that was all when it first came out, that was back when the objective was actually even worse than it is now, if you can even believe that. There's just a lot of risk of your team getting dived. The other team is just engaging on the 3 members who are not in the protector if you actually put 2 people in. And we're actually just about ready, and we're going to be going into the draft for Game 2 any moment now. It'd be nice to see Game 3. I'm sure that Red Dragons wants to see Game 3. I'm not sure if all Random All Middle Age wants to see Game 3, though. I know how it is from a competitive perspective. You want your wins to be as clean as possible, as easy as possible. You never want to drop a game, but when we're looking at it from a spectator point of view, well, that's never how we want to see it. We want to see it go the distance. And our first ban is going to come out here from all Random All Middle Age. So, I did mention before that I do know some of these players, particularly on the side of Red Dragons. I used to play with Pandemonium and Livscutoria. Livscutoria, no, I want to talk about Pandemonium. I know some of his signature heroes. Junkrat is actually one of them. Junkrat is one of his signature heroes. Greymane must be one of the signature heroes on all Random All Middle Aged, with that being a first ban, not even the second ban in the initial ban phase. That literally just being the first ban. But Pandemonium likes to play Junkrat, he likes to play Tychus, and he also likes to play Nazebo. Nazebo is probably that's his #1 signature hero, or at least his favorite signature hero. Back when I played with him, it's a hero that he is very fond of, and I think this is actually a decent map for it. Volskaya Foundry, I think, is a map that can go late. It's a map where the value of the objective can often be highly mitigated. Blaze going to be banned again. Yeah, I believe in the Blaze ban. Just one of the best offlaners in the game. The Stukov going to be banned again. Again, Stukov, once again, my opinion, the 5th best healer in the game. But he could be the 1st best in terms of how toxic he can be with Lurking Arm. Because Lurking Arm really is a busted ability. Who wants to deal with that crap? Nobody really. Meanwhile, Vala going to be picked up by Killer Fairy. Talking about some of the best heroes in the game, Vala is certainly one of the best damage dealers in the game, although I do think picking up the Vala that early carries a lot of risks, and there are risks either way. Like, if you want to play Vala, there is the possibility that the other team takes it before you because it's such a good hero, but if you also take it that early, I think there's a lot of opportunity to counterpick it. Meanwhile, Johanna and Anduin going to be picked up by the side of Red Dragons. Some combos there. We've got the Anduin once again, just a fantastic hero, and he is a top 4 healer, in my opinion. Do have potential combos for either Light Bomb, Falling Sword, or even just Light Bomb, Blessed Shield. Just Blessed Shield in and then walk in with the Light Bomb. So some pretty try-hard drafts picked up here by our Div C teams. Diablo picked up by Modus Trollin, and Rhaegar going to be picked up by Muffin Man. There's no point in banning any healers at the moment. Brightwing will actually have no participation in this draft whatsoever, which is slightly surprising. So we need to ban out damage, we need to ban out bruisers pretty much at this point. Gonna be the Chromie. I remember it now. When I played and lost against all Random All Middle Aged, I'm pretty sure that I got messed up by a Chromie. Pretty sure that I walked into a time trap, and then the whole team collapsed on me. Fun times, fun times. What is going to be the next ban out of all Random All Middle Aged? Are they going to respect something that was picked up by the side of Red Dragons? A lot of the heroes that were picked up in the last game by those particular players are not really... I don't feel that they're super ban-worthy. Especially not things like the Rainer or the Gul'dan. Especially something like the Rainer, probably a little weaker on this map. I actually really don't want to see the Ranger. let's try that again. I don't want to see the Rainer. Both because I think the hero's not that good, and also because it's weaker on this map. So Tyke is going to be banned out. So that's actually 2 of Pandemonium's signature heroes. I feel like Nazeebo's going to be picked up. Yeah. So I'm not surprised at all to see the Nazeebo picked up. 2 of Pandemonium's signatures picked up. 2 of his most comfortable heroes banned out. Not picked up, that is, so he goes with his other one. And the Rainer is something that he also plays, and something that's a bit stronger on Cursed Hollow. Not as strong here, so I'm glad it wasn't picked up. That being said, having a Nazeebo does present its own share of issues, with Nazeebo being not that strong of a hero either, and being very much a late-game stacking hero. And we're going to see the Kel'Thas picked up. I wonder if there's going to be a switch between Souza and Killer Fairy, because Killer Fairy played the Kel'Thas last game. It's entirely possible that they both play this hero. But, I was just wondering if they had Killer Fairy pick the Vala early for whatever reason. The Tychus was banned out, and again, I talked before about, whether or not Tychus really is that much of a counter to Diablo. And with getting the Nazeebo, they really still needed something that could put some reasonable damage pressure on the Tychus. And we do see the switch between Killer Fairy and Souza on those heroes. So the Zul'jin is someone who eventually could have some reasonable damage pressure on the Diablo. I don't think that's going to be very true in the early game, though. I think he needs to stack up, and most importantly, I think he needs to go Q build. I think it needs to be a Q build Zul'jin. At the very least, Q at 16 with the percent damage. But as long as you're taking that, I think just going full Q build with Zul'jin is the way. So I kind of would prefer not to see either of the other level 1 talents. I think there's a decent chance he might go for the Recklessness, which, has its merits, but I think here going full Q on Zul'jin is the way to go, to make sure that there's plenty of pressure on that Diablo and that he doesn't just get away with murder, because I think if he doesn't go that, then I think Diablo gets away with murder. Alright then, we are going to have our draft. Alright, so, leading one game in this series. Oh my god. Leading one game in this series is all random, all middle-aged, and we've got pause. So, talking a little bit about the draft, if anything, I feel a little bit more strongly this game, in that I personally believe that the draft out of... I personally believe all random, all middle-aged has a bit of a stronger draft. I did miss something, though, which is that I was concerned about the kill pressure on Diablo, and I forgot that Imperius is actually very good kill pressure on Diablo, except for the fact that already being in the game, I see that Imperius did not pick percent damage at 1. He went W at 1, which is also kind of a necessity if you are playing off-lane Imperius. So, the question of this Diablo is a big one for me. I'm concerned about that Diablo for the future of Red Dragon's chances in this series. And I could be wrong. One of the things you can always do, even if you don't necessarily have the correct tools, is to just play better than your opponent. So maybe they'll just do that. We'll see. Anyway, looks like we're going to be going back into the game any second now. We've got our countdown. And let's just get back into it. Alright, so, all random, all middle-aged, leading this series 1-0. Killer Fairy going to be reprising their role on the Kel'Thas. Modus Trolling going to be on the Diablo. Muffin Man going to be on the Rhaegar. Souza on Vala. Poppin' Fresh on the Leoric. Red Dragons trailing in this series and trying to make their way back in. Pandemonium's going to be on the Nazeebo. Daddy Whale going to be playing that Imperius. Dizzy will be playing Anduin. Livskitoria on the Johanna, and Jacobia on the Zul'jin. Meanwhile, Jacobia did pick his level 1 talent. Actually went with Headhunter, and this is a talent that is certainly great in terms of if you can complete it. Having 7.7 range on an auto attacker is crazy. Meanwhile, while I'm talking about auto attackers, we're going to see the first kill go in favor of all random, all middle-aged. Souza trying to make it 2, but I think both Jacobia and Livskitoria are going to get out of there. Gonna be the auto attack Vala, which there definitely are some strong feelings. Oh, talking about strong feelings, there is no transition from strong feelings to disconnects. Let's backtrack on that one. But there are strong feelings about Vala builds, the auto attack build certainly being, in my opinion, it is the one that has the highest ceiling, and is the one with the highest ceiling, so it just means it has the highest potential. But really, if you're playing Vala, any build is good. It's Vala. She's gonna do work as long as she has a good driver. Alright, so our players seeming to have some issues. Yep, they said, one person said lag, said the game was like a PowerPoint presentation. Feels bad, man. So, with any luck, this will be resolved soon. It would be a huge disappointment if for whatever reason this game had to be, like, forfeited or whatever. That would be super disappointing. So while we're here... What do you guys think? How's Baldur's Gate 3? Good? Good? It also came up in the match chat. I haven't bought Baldur's Gate 3 myself yet. It does seem like a fantastic game. I would love to play it, but can't play it now because we're actually about to just go back into this game. Oh, no, just kidding. Paused. We unpaused. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to go back into the game. Alright then. So we are back here in this game. We are going to see all random, all middle-aged, pushing against Daddy Whale. Daddy Whale up top does strike me as really odd. Imperius, I feel like, is not a super great offlaner for double soaking mid-top, and he's also just kind of getting... Oh no, that could be a charge. Maybe he just doesn't have it. But that was pretty scary. They are just straight up pushing. Yeah, I don't normally expect to see the offlaner go top on Volskaya Foundry. And of course it can be a thing that you have your offlaner double soak between mid-top, but I feel like Imperius is not really the best offlaner to be doing that with. And I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure how good the wave clear actually is of W at 1 for Imperius. We do have some interesting things going on as far as talent. Some things that I don't normally expect. We're going to see the Fealty Unto Death out of Leoric. That makes him very, very good at laning, and will also make it actually pretty good for him to be double soaking mid and top. But he's just bot at the moment. Typically, I expect to see the Ossian Renewal. Fealty Unto Death really being a purely laning talent. Ossian Renewal gives you the flexibility of helping you both in lane and during team fights, while Consume Vitality is strictly a teamfight talent. Meanwhile, Poppin' Fresh gonna hit them with that skeletal... Oh god. Skeletal swing. Both teams just doing this pushing one lane thing while the offlaner is just kind of helpless. I almost wonder if it's better for the offlaners to do something else here. Like even just like soak mid or whatever. No, I think I'm wrong about that. I think these structures go down a lot faster. The structure going down faster on the side of all random, all middle-aged. But we do see the rotation coming out of Diablo, but it's too late for anything to happen, and the rotation is blocked by Pandemonium on that Nazeebo. Imperius is not the best. It's true, he is not the best hero in the entire game. I'm pretty sure that's a true statement. Anyway. Interesting things picked up also. We are going to see this siege camp picked up by Red Dragons. Content to actually just give up the percentage on the objective, which is just part of the way this map works. There's no value, there's no partial value out of this objective. It's just all or nothing. So Red Dragons deciding to gamble on getting things elsewhere on the map. They'll pick up the healing camp, they'll pick up the siege camp top. I wonder if they'll even push with it a little bit. Half of the beacon has been progressed out of all random all middle-aged, though. Couldn't think of a better word. Modus Trolling, meanwhile, taking a lot of free damage from Jacobia. Gonna make it a little bit harder if they do eventually want to get this. And now is where Red Dragon's starting to make their stand, while Poppin' Fresh takes his time to clear out that siege camp taken by Red Dragons. Gonna be a Toad build Nazebo. Typically, I think the Spider build is considered the strongest for team fighting. His Toad build Nazebo, I suppose, will be stronger for eventually sieging. Meanwhile, we are going to see... Oh, no, this is a 5v4, so Red Dragon's going to move out. Pandemonium going to come up from the side. He's kind of isolated here by himself. He's going to move back. Lift Utoria going back in. Pandemonium's going back down, though. So they're going to give up a little bit more of that objective. Pandemonium does come back, and of course, Pandemonium is a Nazebo. He's actually got really good progress on Violent... Voodoo Ritual already. Meanwhile, we're going to see a pull on Johanna, but she's not going to make it out. Most of the members of Red Dragons are pretty low, so I feel like Red Dragons can still play this. It depends on what kind of taps we have coming out of all random, all middle age. But Souza is super low. Doesn't get a heal from Anduin. He's really got to respect this Imperius. He does just get out of there. Does manage to get a tap. And this fight isn't over yet. Yeah, Imperius, great hero. Nearly killed Vala there. He was the best hero at almost killing Vala in that one moment. Meanwhile, one of the fantastic things we see right here is King Andrew trying to learn how to speak English in front of people. But one of the fantastic things we see is that somewhere along the way, Lift Utoria had subdue is sub-done. He's completed it. One of the best quests in the game. Talent that is not even... where completing the quest is not even worth it. Hold on. I take that back. Not even necessary, but super worth it if you can actually get it done. Meanwhile, look at the value of this objective. We talked about the value of this objective before, and all random, all middle age, instead trying to get their value top, trying to see if they can kill the Kel'Thas. Modus Trolling gonna go in. That's Red Dragon's actually looking for value, not all random, all middle age. Meanwhile, talking about value, Red Dragon's gonna get the kill on the Kel'Thas. Ten's gonna be picked up by all random, all middle aged. Taking a look at these talents, seeing if there's anything that really looks a little bit out of the ordinary. Most things look pretty in step with what I expect. I'd say the main things that look unexpected are going to be the Apocalypse out of Diablo. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with it, but I think typically if you're going W build, especially full W build, which we don't actually know if he's going, Lightning Breath has better synergy. I think at higher levels, Lightning Breath is kind of just considered standard at the moment. And of course, a big thing is that Apocalypse has better synergy with Entomb. There's even a name for it. It's called Easy Bake Oven. Goes way back to the HGC days. But there's nothing wrong with APOC. APOC also suggests that maybe he'll just go Q talents at 13 and 16, and if he just gets an APOC combo on something like Anduin, it could just be a dead Anduin. Meanwhile, talking about dead heroes, it's the Vala. Vala has died one time, I believe. We're looking at stats instead of watching the action. But that is going to be a percentage off of the attack speed bonus that comes with Creed of the Hunter for Souza. So Red Dragons looking good in this game too. Of course, that's also how it looked in game one, so we'll see what happens. See if Modus Trollin and the rest of all random, all middle age can bring it back. And then I'd say the other thing that looks a little bit unexpected is the Garg out of Nazebo. The Ravenous Spirit definitely being stronger for team fighting, and this just leads me to believe that he's looking to push more than he is actually looking to team fight. Meanwhile, Imperius going to be here picking up the camp by himself. Probably actually does decently on the camp by himself with going W at 1 and 7. Does mean we aren't seeing the Holy Fervor, but I think there's a lot of damage potential that comes out if you can actually throw out the W first and then actually land a spear on a target with that W under them ready to detonate. Red Dragons, meanwhile, going to look to pick up this healing camp. They're probably going to get it, but Poppin' Fresh is going in there. Oh, and there's the APOC. There's just everything. All arts, all the R buttons being pressed. Who's going to die first? Is it Jacobian? No, he's got Unkillable. He's Zul'jin, of course. But it is going to be Nazebo, followed by Leoric, and then Zul'jin goes down anyway, and it's a bloodbath with heroes going down on both sides. Modus Trollin looking to make it more, and that is going to be a 4 for 2 in favor of all random, all middle-aged, which... it's starting to look like last game again, with Red Dragons looking a little bit stronger in the older game, stronger in the early game. Once again, they have the structure lead, but now they're losing the team fights, and they're behind on experience.
Terminal activated. Take control of it.
Leoric might be getting a little bit of push. He's mounting. Oh, because he wants to catch this wave, make sure it doesn't push on the bottom front wall. I was wondering if he was going to push a little bit mid. He had a little bit of a wave at the time, but Nazeebo will just quickly take that out. And we do have a great stacking pace for Pandemonium on this Nazeebo. 146 at level 14 for his team, so it's almost guaranteed, unless he just like suddenly goes AFK for the next 6 levels, that he gets Vile Infection. Which is great, because this game is going on long. We're not seeing this game being snowballed hard in either direction, so I think it's very likely that we see this game go on long. The exception, of course, is if we actually see, like, a teamfight victory that results in them pushing top. But instead, let's talk about pushing. It's going to be Red Dragons pushing bottom, just pushing the keep during the objective, and this is one of the things that I think is just part of, like, kind of how this map is played, where it's like, well, why deal with this crappy objective when you could just push lane? But all random, all middle-aged is going to answer them, so there's actually a limit to how much push they actually get. The objective has been taken. The Protector has been taken by all random, all middle-aged, and Leo's going to start walking that down, and I think he's actually just going to start pushing. We'll maybe push mid. No, he's not going to push mid. Could have definitely gotten some free damage now on this fort if you really wanted to. I'm not sure. I guess he was concerned about the wave and bringing the wave up, but that wasted a lot of time, where now Red Dragons is back here, but Pandemonium is kind of caught out of position, a little bit of an unhappy rotation. The pull from Anduin does save him, and instead it's all random, all middle-aged who's starting to drop heroes. Ancestral Healing goes out, is going to save Killer Fairy, and now it's Leoric who's trying to get out with this Triglav Protector. Souza actually kind of struggling in this game. Souza, and I could be wrong about that. Like, maybe, how's he doing in terms of... So he does have the highest damage. He only has 1 death, but I guess where that statement came from, that I felt that he was struggling, is that I'm seeing a lot of these fights where it looks like he has the lowest health, and that he's basically forced out of the fight and just walking back, to kind of the detriment of his team, because he just can't fight. So, and that is also, I think, one of the potential concerns about going AA build, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong here. But it is a build where you have to step up. You have to expose yourself to damage, so a lot of times you rely on your team, but oh my god, let's take a look. That was a beautiful entomb through the wall, caught Nazeebo, and Nazeebo goes down. All random, all middle-aged, with some great plays. Huge play by Poppin' Fresh. I don't think Zul'jin makes it out of here. Yeah, Zul'jin, not a chance. And that is definitely one of the things that I feel is a pretty significant disadvantage of the draft that Red Dragons has. They have 2 immobile backline DPS heroes, but who are also kind of close range, and that's a little bit debatable on the Nazeebo, who he does have ranged abilities, but even his abilities, they're not super long range. The longest range is Toad's, but one, of course, is pretty slow. His more primary team fighting ability is Spiders, which isn't super long range. Anyway, lots of siege value going to be gotten now by all random, all middle-aged. Killer Fairy going to be caught in the zombie wall. It does actually force out an Ancestral. Not sure if that was 100% necessary, but if Kel'Thas suddenly died there 4v2, it would have been pretty tragic. Anyway, it's going to be a fight over the healing camp. All 5 members of Red Dragons are actually in here. The APOC combo going to be coming out. Poor Modus Troll and Pandemonium super low once again, and he's going to be the first to die. Or, no, it was actually Anduin died slightly before him, but this is now a 5v3. Red Dragons needs to get out of here, but Daddy Whale all the way in the back here. So this is going to be a 5 for nothing. A 5-man team wipe in favor of all random, all middle-aged. And, I mean, I'm actually wondering out, do they just win the game here? So... Part of me is thinking that they might be Nah, it's... I think it'd be overly optimistic to win the game. I wondered if they were just going to go sidewall, but there definitely was not enough time on those death timers. Certainly enough time for the fort, and they're going to just take the keep with that, which is great value. I love Walmart. And, oh, we've got 20s picked up by the side of all random, all middle-aged. And I do see some interesting ones. The main one that really strikes me is as interesting is this Burning Despair out of Leoric. This kind of turns Leo into a hyper carry damage dealer. He does crazy amounts of damage with this talent. He also went for Mithril Mace and Spectral Leech, so AA build Leo doing huge amounts of damage. And that can make a big deal in these fights. These fights that they're already kind of winning. And they're just establishing dominance at this point. They've got level 20. I mean, if they really want to, they can just push on this keep wall. They might even just be able to take the keep. And I kind of just want to see them do that. So Leo's going to be here on the point, which makes sense. On the one hand, on the other hand, though, this also is a potential opportunity. Daddy Well could come back and actually engage, except for the fact that Poppin' Fresh is moving up. What do we need this objective for? We've got 5, we've got Entomb ready, we've got APOC online. The only thing missing on the side of... Oh my god. Can't talk about what's missing. Jacoby already low on health. That's going to be Taz Dingo already forced. It's not the 20 Taz Dingo, so he's super low on health. And the first kill is going to go on to Imperius. The second one's going to go on to Johanna. And that, we're at the very least going to see this keep go down. Poppin' Fresh looking to move in, looking for more kills possibly. Instead, it's going to be Modus Troll and uses the Hellgate to go over the keep. Tries to go for an engage. Doesn't make it happen, though. And we do eventually see that No Mercy out of Zul'jin. Again, I feel that percent damage was needed against Diablo. I would have preferred seeing the full Q at both 1 and 7, but, you know, it's kind of a moot point at this point. Don't think that was really the number one thing that would have made a difference in this game. And they are just all random, all middle-aged now, really just forcing their will and eventually forcing this game to a likely close. Only 30% left on the core. They just need to keep their damage dealers alive. Souza uncontested there. And that will be game number 2 going in, and the series in favor of all random, all middle-aged. So good games to them. Strong opening to their NGS season. Not such strong openings to the individual games, but certainly strong finishes. So, we even see more damage coming out of the Kael'thas than the Vala, which is not something I would typically expect, and that does lead me to believe that there was a lot of either living bomb spread or people standing in empowered flame strikes. Either one possible. But, oh, and what were the... I forgot. Did we even see the levels? Did this game even... No, this game... So, the red team didn't even make it to 20, and that was also a big part of their win condition, having a Nazebo. You pick Nazebo, you want to get to 20. They didn't make it. I thought it was going to get there, and he had the stacks. He just didn't have the talent yet because they didn't get there. It is unfortunate. Well, let's see if any of these people want to do an interview. All right. So, I've messaged them. Need to get myself somewhere as well. Or can possibly do an interview. All right. We've got someone coming along. I talked to Modus Trollin, who I believe is the captain. He did say he would be right there. I don't know if that's going to be him right there or someone else. Hello. Who we got here? Is it Modus Trollin?
Yes.
Very nice. Congratulations on your win tonight. First win of the season. How you feeling?
Oh, feeling really good about that match. Yeah, I mean, you love to start off the season with a strong win, and so I think we're off to a great start.
Feels good to just come out of the gates with a win. You know, I want you to tell me a little bit about your team. I've seen you I believe you've been around a couple seasons now. You guys have played together. Tell me about your team.
Yeah, for sure. So, ARAM, we've been the team under this name for I want to say maybe this is our third season with this name. Although there's maybe 2 or 3 of us who've played together on a few other teams in the past. So last season we were in Div D, and we ended up winning our Coastal Championship, which was really awesome. We had actually been in Div C the season before, and it was a bit of a washout. We had a bit of a rough time that
It
season,
can be
so
rough.
we were really excited to get a second chance to come into Div C and see if we could give it another try and make it a bit more competitive. So I think that's the name of the game for us this season. Is we just want to try and finish with a respectable record and try and push ourselves as much as we can.
I like that. I like that idea of, you struggled before in Div C, but then you just knocked it out of the park in Div D and come back strong here and just want another chance. It's great. Let's talk a little bit about the games. So overall, the games looked very strong. I will say in both games it actually looked like Red Dragons was a little stronger in the early game until you eventually took control of things and kind of ran away with things. Tell me a little bit about that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think their team, we didn't know a lot about them before this match, and I can say now I know that they have like a pretty strong macro game and like good early game instincts. I think they definitely just out-rotated us a lot in the early game, and I think honestly we were lucky that we were able to get the edge in the team fights, because we sort of I think both games had a similar kind of arc where we just struggled a lot in the early games. They got advantages getting forts down before us. In Cursed especially, I think we got some early team fight wins that we didn't, even after getting a boss or something, it didn't feel like we capitalized very much in terms of the structures in the early part. So I think that was rough, and I think we just sort of kept playing the same style, I think, throughout the same game of just trying to look for opportunities to catch people and playing the team fights, and it just ended up working out for us that we scaled well into the late game.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I've you guys have been together a couple seasons. It's from my perspective, it seems like you guys do pretty well for yourselves, and of course, you had a season where things are a little bit tougher. I even once had the privilege of playing against you guys in a Nexomania game, and it did not go well for me. I will let you know that. I don't know if you remember, but...
Oh, that's fun. What team was that?
It was kind of like a Nexomania only team that was just put together for that, so...
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Of course, one of the most important questions is the fact that your name is ARAM. It's abbreviated to that. I'm an ARAM lover. What can you tell us share about the gospel that is the wonder of ARAM?
So, cards on the table. We don't actually play ARAM that much. I know. It's all about the puns. We just really, we just really wanted a name that had like some kind of quirk to it. So
okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry to disappoint on that one.
Well, if you ever have the chance, I highly recommend that you just start pressing the Q button in ARAM. You'll have a great time. It's good for the soul. Let's get back on track. Where are you looking to go this season? Are there teams that you're looking forward to playing to that you expect to be a challenge? Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think four of us were on the team last season. We have one new person on our roster, so I think we're trying to feel things out, the new team dynamic in the first part of the season. So I think there's going to probably be some experimentation that happens, but I think we're looking to balance that with also trying to stay competitive and have, like I said, a respectable record as we go through the season. We have scrimmed a few teams in our div in the last couple months, and they're tough, so I think we're going to have some difficult games ahead of us, but I'm looking forward to giving it our best shot.
All right, that's awesome. Well, I think we're gonna start to wrap this up. Just closing out with, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give before we actually wrap this up?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for casting our game. It's always lovely to have a cast. Shout outs to my whole team. Shout outs to our sub barber who was full time on our team last season but has a kid now and real life responsibilities.
Of course.
Yeah, and shout outs to NGS for all the volunteers who make this wonderful competition happen.
All right, very good. Thank you so much for coming in with this interview. Congratulations on your win tonight, and you have a great evening.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye. All right, friends. So, if you're still here, hope you had a good time. I'm King Andrew. It's King Andrew. We're done for now, but I will be back in a little less than an hour with yet another Nexus Gaming Series cast. Going to be casting Team Rainbow Strike Go versus the Dunning-Kruger Knights. That's an interesting name. So, I think for now, I will look for someone to raid you to, because I imagine there's probably another Nexus Gaming Series match going on at this moment. So we'll just kind of keep that train going. And we'll see you again in about 45 minutes. Hope to see you there.